Welcome to the REAL Autism Podcast. Real as in relevant, effective, actionable living strategies and solutions for a better quality of life. Join your host, Alicia Gaucher Page, for some real conversations. Sponsored by J. Cole Autism Coaching.
What's up, fam? Hopefully you are enjoying your Tuesday. It is Tuesday, right? All of my days are running together. It's your girl Alicia with the Real Autism Podcast, where we share relevant, effective, actionable living strategies and solutions. I hope all is well with everyone. Just checking in for our podcast topic for today, which is to review some of the previous episodes. They were so great that I wanted to share some of my favorite moments from episodes 7 through 16. So before we get into that, I want to invite you to Kicking for Acceptance. We have our monthly session at Sweetwater Park off of Clay Road in Austell, Georgia. As opposed to starting at 10 a.m. this Saturday, we're going to start at 9 a.m. because it's so hot outside. It's going to be great fun. We're going to work on techniques for kickball. We're going to socialize and just have a great time. Neurodivergent, neurotypical individuals are welcome to attend. So we hope to see you there. If you'd like to register, go to jcoleadvocacy.com, and I believe it's on the events tab. And just let me know you're coming. That's if you are in Austell, Georgia. So we hope to see you there. So without further ado, let's get to our first favorite moment with Mr. Austin Moore. Let's check it out.
So when I first meet them, I look at the body I'm working with. Look at if they're doing verbal loops, if they're looking me in the eye, if they're looking mom and dad in the eye, if they're being a little nervous. It's all body language. And so, but I walk in the door, say I'm meeting Coleman can you remind me, is he 14, 15?
15.
Okay, so like if I walk in, when I see Coleman, I'm going to walk in, hey, Coleman, talk to him like a freshman in high school, right? And so I'm not going to assume he knows everything, but I'm also not going to talk to him like a 5-year-old. And so I will do that, especially with my adults that I meet for the first time. I just flat out tell them, I know that you've probably not been believed in that you're in there, but I believe that you are. And my job is to be here to help you communicate and use this as a tool for the rest of your life, to be able to communicate with whoever's willing to be your partner, your communication partner, which can be anybody. So I'm very honest in that it can be done, but it's a formula that has been proven over and over again that people have to follow for it to kind of work. And so I try to go into these homes and families and plant the flag of you're on the right path. Even if I'm not the practitioner you'll work with for the rest of your life, you're on the right path. So keep this going. You found it. Let's keep going. Anything you've done in the past, if you want to keep going, that's fine. But I'm telling you, I've seen this change so many lives. And it's, again, not a therapy to try. It's a way of life.
Thank you, Austin. That was my friend and colleague, Mr. Austin Moore. He is doing a procedure or a therapy called S2, the number 2C, spelling to communicate. And so he was giving us some tips on how does he assess a new client. He studies the client more so than getting a lot of details and information from the parent, just to see what their body movements or body gestures are. And we can do that with anyone, and we can certainly do it with those that are nonverbal, because a lot of their body movements tell us exactly what they feel and what they're thinking. And so when you have a great therapist like Austin, who really believes that there is something in there that he can bring out when you work together and you're consistent, you can get great results. And like he said, if you work for him for a little while and you decide that you want to do something different, that works as well. But as caregivers, we have to identify the therapy that works best for our loved ones. So shout out to Austin Moore. Check him out on Instagram at Spelling Moore, and that's Moore. So let's get into our next favorite moment. I think it's with my friends and autism moms, Audrey White and Jessica Derensberg. But let's see. What's up next? So when you say caregiver, just for clarity, are you saying caregiver as in the parent, or caregiver as in someone that supports the family?
Yeah, initially when I started, a caregiver as someone who supports the family.
Okay.
And then, as a parent, as a caregiver, I do say a lot of it is really the same thing too. As a parent, we have to I would add more, we have to be a little bit more thick-skinned in how society sees our child, because a lot of times our child doesn't see society that same way. One of the things about autism is that they have they do not intuitively pick up other people's emotions, and so but a lot of times parents would be afraid to take them out somewhere or let them be included in activities because of fear of what other people might say. And I was like, forget what other people might say. If he wanted to do it, I'm going to have him do it. I'm going to work with that organization for him to be able to try it. And I remember he was invited to, and then I don't want to, I'm not going to worry about what other people are saying. I remember he was like probably in second grade or third grade, and he was invited to, it was a classroom birthday party, a birthday party for one of the children in the class. And there was a group of twin little girls, and I could tell they were making fun of Jordan. Jordan couldn't tell they were making fun of him. So if it didn't bother him, I made up my mind it was not going to bother me, and I wasn't going to address it. It was no point, because he didn't understand it at the time. I knew later when he would get older, then we worked through those things. But that's the part where, as parents, I think we need to be able to, we let our own emotions get in the way of exposing our children to the world. And that is one of the things that is very difficult, but it is possible.
She hit it right on the head. I mean, many of our children that are on the spectrum, they don't even really notice that someone may be making fun of them. It's like she said, it's not intuitive. And a lot of times, I know as a parent, I get some anxiety about how my children will be perceived in certain environments. So that's all me, and that's all my emotions. But I will tell you, once you get past that moment and you start saying, I really don't care what people think, and you have laser focus on your children's experience, it's so rewarding. And I say it's rewarding because early on in Jasmine and Coleman's lives, it was very difficult to go out in public. And to be honest with you, I hated it. But as we continue to do it, I've been saying over the last few months now, I feel normal. I feel like a normal parent where I can go out to an event in the community. I don't have to be, peripheral vision, acting like a defensive lineman, trying to make sure that Jasmine doesn't elope or grab someone or Coleman doesn't walk off. I feel normal because now they have become accustomed to going out, and that only came with time and practice. So the moral of the story is, do not care about what other people think, and own your experience and make it your own. So I think we have another clip from our other guest on that particular podcast, my friend, Miss Audrey White. Let's check her out. Audrey, what about you?
Yeah, I'm circling back to my word patience. I My son is the most loving, affectionate, uh he's definitely his mama's boy. But just I do a lot of praying and leaning on the Lord for this because I know it has been a struggle, and it is not for the meek. It ain't for no punks. It's
No
Yeah.
punks allowed.
this is the real
No,
deal
no.
here, and
Mm-hmm.
but
It ain't for no punks. Quote unquote. One of my favorite quotes from that particular episode. How did she get through it? What advice would she give to other caregivers? You just have to be patient. Connect with your higher being, whoever that is for you, and just move forward. So, with patience, you can get through a lot of things. And like I always say, on the other side of pain is joy, optimism, and hope. So, as we move into our next episode, on that episode, we had moms, autism moms. On this next episode, we have siblings of individuals that are on the spectrum. So let's hear from them.
My number one piece of advice would be, even though it's difficult, to try to share, the touches with your other kids. Ask them how they're feeling, and if they need help with anything, how are things going at school. Just try to give them the same amount of attention, or a little bit more attention than what you may be giving them.
Like that, a little bit more. It might even need to be more than just attention, but just giving a little bit more, making them feel special. I would, and I think the second part was, what would be the advice you would give to the siblings that are in a position like you?
I would say lean on, your family, and stay strong and resilient. Support your sibling, and don't be afraid to reach out, to look up resources like these podcasts, and to stay informed on what's going on in the community.
Sarah, what about you? Advice for the caregiver and the sibling like you?
The advice that I would have for the caregiver is, it's not as difficult as we may think if you have a neurotypical child and one that is on the spectrum or neurodivergent, I believe. It's not different than when you're raising two separate kids who either are both on the spectrum or they're both neurotypical. Sometimes they just require a different type of care than the other sibling. And so sometimes, you don't want to raise two kids the same way. As far as I've heard, I don't have any children. That two kids are raised differently, and can be raised differently, and should be raised differently because they're different people. Doesn't have to do with anything about, gifts or if they're on the spectrum or not. So kind of when you take hold of that, it kind of puts it in a different light that, I shouldn't raise my child the same way as I would if they were neurodivergent, if that makes sense. And for the siblings, yeah, hang in there. It'll be not the best situation that you may have wanted for yourself, but it does end up growing you and making you a better person overall, which I'm very thankful for Jordan for that. I learned a lot of really deep empathy at a very young age, and I can't say a lot of kids grew up that way. So I'm very grateful to have that quality. And then you just learn how to be a protector, and then you also include other kids, and you kind of just look at world differently. So there's always, going to be rough moments, but that's when you have an older brother that gets on your nerves. That's not any different than regular life. So that's kind of it's just having another sibling. We're all different in our own way, and just to kind of embrace it and see what you can learn from it to make yourself better.
Royce, we wrap it up with you. What advice would you give to the caregiver or a sibling?
I got a few things, but I think one would be to find community with other people who are going through the same things, and other families. I started doing some research into just like groups with young adults who are, on the spectrum, and just knowing that like you're not the only family going through this, and that there are other people, and that you guys can lean on each other for support. You can see who they're going to, and finding those resources through them, and just like lifting each other up through that community. I think that would be the biggest thing, because I feel like a lot of times families get kind of like trapped in their own worlds and bubbles, and only think that it's going on like with them, when there's so many people that are dealing with it. And some people might crack the code when it comes to things that you might be trying to deal with your child. So yeah, just like using those resources that are out there. And then for a sibling, I would say like, one, to pour into yourself, but also not to take stuff personally, because I feel like a lot of times like they don't understand how they come across, but how that makes you feel, what they did, and just like having that discussion with them, so that they're building that emotional intelligence, but like knowing, like letting yourself have those feelings, but also not taking it personal or holding that against them, because they're still learning these things. A lot of these things that came so like easily to you are something that they struggle with. And so having that just ability to let that stuff roll off your back, and help them kind of get to that understanding to move forward in a better way.
Awesome. Thank you to Sarah and Royce, as well as Lauren, for sharing their experiences being siblings of those that are on the spectrum. Nuggets, takeaways from that, you can get a lot from community. That's what this podcast is. So spread the word. Not only that, there's a lot of forums on Instagram, social media platforms that you can join. As a matter of fact, the Real Autism Podcast will have its own community exclusive to those that have subscribed to that community. More details coming soon, so I hope you're going to join that community as well. We'll have an inner circle once a month where we'll have a speaker. We'll share practical strategies and tools that you can use, as well as we'll have Q&A with yours truly, where we can work through problems that you're having and hopefully solution them, where you can start making progress and be able to navigate the journey of autism for a better quality of life. So let's move to our next episode. We just doing a whole family unit tonight. Now we're hitting the dads, the fathers. Let's see what they have to say.
Whatever that is, whatever the best is, and trying to help get them there, whether it's requiring more of my time, or it's more through delegation, or through just financial means, whatever it is that they may need, at this time. But it's hard, it's hard raising neurotypical and neurodivergent children in the same household. That, like that comes with its own, its own challenges, because they see the differences, like, especially, if it's not a lot of resources or support to kind of mentor the parent, myself, plus them through what it is that we're all doing, because we're all doing it fresh, like first time, it's a new experience for all of us. But I would say if you didn't do it my way, it would probably be a lot better. We're learning that now, but it's a journey. It's a journey.
And yeah, you said, and I see Zuri, you're gonna say something. I just want to say, you said it's a journey, and that's why we call this the Real Autism Podcast, because it's gonna be some hard times. There is no perfect parent out there, but the goal is to share our story so that we can first of all, get it off of our chest, and then make it easier for other people that are going through the journey. So don't beat yourself up. I mean, as many of my guests have said on the podcast, as caregivers, as parents, we are doing the best that we can. So you just have to keep that in mind as you're going through this, and not saying, well, I shoulda, I coulda, I woulda. That sets you back from the progress you can make. So just keep doing what you do. Zuri, what you got?
Well, one, there's no script to it. That's about to pick up what you just said. But all I was going to say to Marcus, Mark said something a while back about his daughter and just, being bigger than the other children and the expectations. The reason, but your question about protecting and difference in girls and boys, my thought process still, no matter what, when they go in the public world, the world is going to see them as just two Black individuals, right? My son is a Black man. So the reason why I think I know it's true, I've probably not the right thing to do, but sometimes treat them differently, is because my daughter's still a petite young woman and my son is a Black man. I recognize that. So I'm always thinking to myself, I may know he's the nicest, kindest child in the world, but anyone else is just going to see a man. So I'm trying to raise him and to see that everyone may not have the gloves on or when they're with you and try to help guide you through, help you through processing. They're just going to see a Black man. So I am a little harder on him in how I raise him than my daughter. It's just what it is.
Yeah. And one of the things that I, when it comes back to the safety thing is that, I hope that Coleman is understanding that when you go out in public, you got to look out for yourself because no one else is going to look out for you. Your head has always got to be on a swivel. So I'm instilling that self-protection in him all the time, because I always want him to come back home safe.
Awesome. That was a great episode. I think many times in the family unit, whether it's neurotypical or neurodiverse, our fathers are underrated. And I know from my life experience and my family experience, my father was very instrumental and important person in my life. And the same goes for families that have neurodivergent individuals. I think fathers are just important as moms, and I really enjoyed that interview. And just to give you just a little bit more context, what I asked them was, is it different raising a female or a male, both on the spectrum? All of the gentlemen on that podcast or that episode have children that from both sides, males and females. So what I got from that is we're still teaching our males how to protect themselves. That's what we teach our neurotypical males, right? With our females, we can't be overprotective, but we do treat them a little different. In that it's hard. It's hard raising in the family. We got that from the sibling episode as well as this one. It's hard raising a family that has both, but continue to do the best that you can and have patience as you go through it. So now we're going to go to our next episode, and it is around nutrition with our nutritionist, Miss Rosalind Renee. Let's check her out.
What I did, similar to what you said, is just looking at the ingredients. And what I've been told is the first ingredient is the one that is the most in that particular product, right?
Yes.
So, if you seeing fructose and that's numbered the second ingredient, probably not a good idea to get that one. And I've been told if you have something and it's a whole laundry list of ingredients that takes up half of the back of the page, that's probably not something you want either.
Right.
I mean, the more natural things are going to have less ingredients and more recognizable. Would you agree with that too?
Absolutely. Yeah. I always rule of thumb when it comes to nutrition, don't buy nothing you can't pronounce. If you can't pronounce what's on the back of the ingredients, don't buy it, because more than likely it's something that the body doesn't necessarily recognize. And as we know, individuals that are autistic, their digestive systems work a little bit differently than those of us that aren't. They don't always get the nutrients and the vitamins that they need from those particular food items. And so giving them something that has a lot of processed materials in it is going to further interrupt their digestive system. So giving them, like you said, something that has less ingredients, I always say if 10 ingredients or less, and then make sure it's something that you can actually recognize and know what it is that's in it. Usually those type of foods, they don't last as long, so you do have to eat them quicker, but it is healthier. So I know a lot of people are like, oh, I feel like I'm going to the store more often because they're eating this all the time. But it's like, but it's a better option for them too. Another thing that I always suggest, what the foods are in, like the containers that they're in. So like no canned goods, because typically canned goods, they have a lot of sodium, and then the material of the can, the aluminum can get into the food. So it's like, it's better to buy frozen or fresh over, stuff that's in a can. So, or something that's in a glass, it's a lot better.
After I popped open these baked beans, but like,
So on the end of that episode, I told on myself, I often do frozen vegetables or fresh vegetables, but there are some canned goods for those days that I don't feel like cooking. And on that particular day that I was interviewing her, that was a day where I popped a can of baked beans. So saying all that to say, we're not perfect, but the 80-20 rule, 80% of the time, if you eat well, you'll do well. The other point that I would say from that is when she mentioned the ingredients. If you got a ton or a list of ingredients, probably not a good idea. If your brain or your sight does not recognize the word or understand the word, guess what? Your stomach and your digestive system probably doesn't recognize it either. So leave it where it is, and let's get those things that our digestive system will appreciate. So as we move on to the next episode, now we're talking about vitamins and supplements with Mr. Trey Young Winfrey. Let's see what he had to say.
Like when we're deficient, we're not working on full power. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, like I said, those foods that we eat that are so readily available, fast foods, chain restaurants, you know what I mean? The TV dinner things, just the stuff that we tend to do because we're busy and we need quick food, is just not nutritious. So we've lived years not even understanding what our body is supposed to feel like when it actually feels good. So just changing your diet to something positive. I tell everybody this just to let them know because they think they're allergic to stuff. But if you're deficient in something and you give your body a lot of it right away, it will cause some type of discomfort. Just for the simple fact that our bodies take time to recognize. Our bodies treat everything like something bad until it recognizes it. You know what I mean? So we have reactions, we have different symptoms And it's not necessarily allergies. It's not necessarily any of that. It literally could be your body's immune system trying to disperse whatever you just consumed because it needed it so bad. But if you're not used to it, it feels different. It doesn't feel good. So a lot of things, that's one thing that's really important with the supplementation is understanding like our bodies will adjust fast, but it doesn't always feel the best in the beginning until that energy starts to come back. When all of your nervous system is actually working along with your thoughts and you're able to formulate sentences without getting distracted, like food has something to do with all of that.
Yeah, that was pretty deep, right? A lot of times we underestimate how food impacts our thought process, our focus, us having brain fog. So with those two last guests, Rosalind and Trey, essentially what you put in your system, whether it's a food or whether it's a vitamin or a supplement, if it's something that your body isn't accustomed to receiving, then it may feel uncomfortable, but just test it. We always do introduce things slowly, gradually, or in moderation, just to see how our body responds. And the suggestion that I would make is keep a journal. Keep a journal about the diet that you're eating, how much you ate, how you felt, or even when you remove things from your diet, how did your body react to it? Did you have more energy? Did you sleep better? All of that will create a storyline for you and also a plan of how you should move going forward. So I hope you enjoyed those clips. Those were some of my favorite moments from the Real Autism Podcast. And we are gearing up for even more episodes. You are going to meet one of my friends, my Jacksonians from D. Jackson State, a father of two individuals that are on the spectrum, who is going to be my guest co-host. And we are going to get into it and talk about those real topics that you want to hear about. So I thank you for joining me this evening live. I want you to like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. Spread the word, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Be good.
Thank you for tuning in to the Real Autism Podcast with Alicia Gaucher Page. We'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsors of this episode: J. Cole Autism Coaching, helping caregivers navigate to a better quality of life; AGP Organizational Coaching, helping people develop effective strategies, systems, and solutions to organize information. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, or just visit us at jcoleadvocacy.com.